Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sideline Eye podcast. You're very welcome to our preview show, and we're looking forward to the Senior Championship semi-finals taking place this weekend. Joining me to do so is Mahari star Stefan Cusack, and unfortunately for Stefan, Mahari are used to getting to this late in the year, but just not this season. Coming up later on, we're speaking to Ryan Owens from Clonard, who suffered a pretty bad knee injury at the start of the year, and he's in for surgery this week. So we spoke to him about his rehab, his recovery, and how everything's going with him. That'll be coming on later on. But Stefan, thanks very much for coming on here, and we're gonna get straight into the action and start talking about the two semi-finals coming up. Saturday night, Crossmaglen take on Silverbridge at 6:30 in the Athletic Grounds, and on Sunday at 3:00 in the Athletic Grounds, it's Clonard versus Ballymacnabb. We'll start with Saturday, Stefan, and Cross versus Silverbridge. Cross obviously trying to get back their title that you and your Mahari teammates took off them last year. They're going in heavy favourites against Silverbridge, and no matter who Cross play in the championship, they're going to be favourites. You've faced Cross a couple of times in the championship, so you know how Silverbridge are feeling this weekend. How do you deal with being such big underdogs heading in against Cross?
Well, you go in basically an underdog is you're not expected to win the game, so there's no pressure really on Silverbridge this weekend. They've done well to get to the semi-final on two good wins. But you know, going in against Cross, that you're going to be allowed to play your own game. So that for us going into any game against Cross, we know we can express ourselves, and it's going to be an open game of football. So to be fair to Cross, they let us play the way we want to play. So, but Silverbridge this weekend, they're, as you say, they're underdogs. There's no pressure on them, so they kind of have a free hit at it. Everybody in the county is expecting Cross to win, except for Silverbridge, and they can use that to their advantage, you know, and kind of catch Cross off guard or just bring their game to them.
And you said, you touched on it there, Silverbridge can play their own game. Cross like to go man to man, and they tend to do that, and they'll play their own kicking game, which does give you a chance in your forward line. If you can move that ball quickly into your forward line, there is space there. I'm not sure expose is the right word to use about the Crossmaglen defence, but is there a chance to get at them since they don't tend to play an out-and-out sweeper?
No, well, the way Cross play, they play the kicking game and they play the runners coming from late. So if you can overturn that ball, there is a lot of holes in their defence. Aaron Kieran would usually be the one sitting there sweeping, but he has to attack too. So if Silverbridge can overturn the ball early and hit them at pace, which they've been doing in the championships thus far against Coventry and Cullyhanna, the players up there that can hurt them. There's still question marks over the Cross ball back line and the high ball coming out from the keeper. And if you're Silverbridge this weekend, you'll be throwing that ball in early a few times just to see if you can get any result from it. But I wouldn't, like the West Silverbridge play, I wouldn't be totally relying on that there. They've got great players around the middle of the field, Charlie Oden character, who can feed in Real, Rock, Murphy, them boys, all good footballers, fast footballers, and all can shoot. So like Silverbridge do have a lot going for them up there this weekend, and Cross will give them plenty of opportunities, and Silverbridge really need to be taking them. They probably will get 3 or 4 goal chances throughout the game, and if Silverbridge want to be winning this weekend, they need to be taking at least 2 of them. I think they're definitely going to need a couple of goals, because Crossmaglen going the other way will win a shootout with most teams, and they score on average about 18, 19, 20 points a game. So that's what Silverbridge can need to be aiming at to win this game.
So the Silverbridge attack actually just counting up today, they're actually the top goal scorers in the senior championship. They've got 6, obviously 4 the last day out. You're saying they will get chances. They do have enough bodies up there to convert those chances.
They do. There's a lot of good footballers. I mentioned already, Rock, Rowan Reid, Owen Reid, Murphy. They're all good footballers, and they move the ball fast. If you look at the goals they scored against Cullyhanna, they work the ball through the hands very well. The runners coming from deep, and that would cause any defence problems. So when they get them opportunities on Saturday night, they need to be taking them. Because they definitely will get 2 or 3 goal chances. Like most teams do get the goal chances in the game, but the way Cross play on the front foot, they do leave holes in behind. So Silverbridge, when they get their chances, they really need to be taking them. So,
And is it going to be hard for Silverbridge because they are the top goal scorers, they have good attackers, but defensively, matching up one-on-one with the cross-playing attackers probably isn't a good idea. So they're going to have to find the balance between trying to, plug their own gaps at the back while not taking away from their attacking threat as well.
yeah, in the 2 games so far against Drummontea and Cullyhanna, Silverbridge have went all out attack. They've trusted themselves till outscore Drummontea and Cullyhanna, which they did. But Cross is a different game altogether. You kind of have to be wary when you're attacking. You have to leave something at the back because Cross 2 kicks of the ball and the ball could be in the other end. Cross will move the ball through the hands. Cross will get the ball and they'll kick it 60 yards up the field and another 40 yards in, and they'll get goals, and that's hard to defend. So Silverbridge, although they've got to where they've got by playing the type of football they've got, they're still going to have to change it a wee bit, I think, if they're going to cause Cross problems. Because if they go into this game with the same style of play, I'd be wary at the back. I'd be very wary at the back that they could hold Cross, because in the Cullyhanna game against Silverbridge, they did cough up a lot of goal chances, and only for better finishing Cullyhanna, but maybe Cullyhanna could have won the game, but they didn't. Silverbridge reacted well. They got the goals at the other end, but sometimes you just have to be wary of what's behind when you're attacking the numbers like that there, because Cross will take advantage of it.
And that middle third, Stefan, is obviously going to be so crucial. And we're going to just touch on matchups here. I suppose the big one that we're looking forward to is probably Jarly O'Byrne's taking on Ryan O'Neill, if that's how it materialises. It'll be probably Peter Carraher against Stephen Morris, and perhaps Paddy Reel picking up Oisin O'Neill. Is that how you see the matchups going?
Yeah, I would say that would be it going on. There are 3 good matchups, 3 good battles there. Morris and Carracher, they're physical in the air. Carracher would have the experience maybe to deal with Morris, but you've got to be very wary of him. He's an athletic player and he can get up and down, where Peter maybe is not that type of player. He's more the type of player to sit and let Charlie out attack. Charlie and Ryan would be a great battle. 2 Armagh teammates, so they know each other pretty well. I think anybody who's marking Oisin and Ryan will find it hard to mark them man to man, because if they're 2 great athletic players, they probably would need help from their teammates. Most teams probably going in there would have a man on them, but still need help from other guys to get them in, because the athletic ground's a big pitch and it's hard to tie them 2 guys down in a man-to-man situation, because Charlie will go the other way and likes attacking. He might switch off now and again on Ryan, so the Silverbridge are going to have to be on their toes. Oisin will probably be the more attacking of the 2 of the O'Neill brothers. He'll probably sit at the 450 to be that outlet pass. So just touching that point before, with Silverbridge going forward, they need to keep an eye, maybe have somebody doubling up on Oisin back there, because Oisin's very good at running the lines, so he is across there. But it'll be a good midfield battle, and going in the kickouts, Silverbridge will be forced long to kick out, because Crosswood Lane have a high press, and Crosswood Lane want you to kick the ball out in the middle and make it a battle in the middle. They overload the breaking ball very heavily, so they do, and rely on winning that breaking ball. But that can also work to Silverbridge's advantage if they compete well in there. The Crosswood Lane defence will be down, and that will give them chances to get their scores. So I think on both keepers will be forced long, and it will be a real battle in the middle of that, and it'll be up to whoever really wants it and wins breaking ball will come out and help.
And I wonder, Stefan, is it a tactic the Cross use, or maybe it just happens in the middle of the game sometimes? Against Clevie, Ryan did drift into full forward, and it was okay for Clevie because they had Ciara McKinney waiting for him. Jarly O's going to be tracking Ryan, we imagine. Silverbridge won't let him or won't want him drifting in and Jarlio having to follow him. They're going to need a backup plan if that happens.
Yeah, they are going to need a backup plan, but you can see Ryan and Ocean do swap roles. Ryan does compete a lot around the middle, takes a lot of big hits. So he probably needs to go inside for 5-10 minutes just to reboot himself. If he does do that there, if Brian Murphy is fit, could he handle Ryan going in? They're definitely going to need to have to sit somebody in front of him if he does go in. You have Kane in there too, so if Ryan and Kane is both inside, Cross are going to just be popping that ball in them two buys a lot, and Silverbridge really need to be sitting maybe a couple of buys in front of them, maybe 1-2 sweepers minimum, because that's where the winning of the game, losing the game is between Ryan, O'Sheen and Kane. We're just talking about it there before we come on, but the scores that they've racked up in the 3 games. I think it's like 338 out of 347 or something they've picked up. So you can see if you stop them 3 buys, which is easier said than done, that can go a long way to beating Cross. But the way to go about it is you kind of have to keep them to, if you go into the game and keep them 3 maybe to 10 points, which is crazy in itself. You're doing a good job, you know, and just try and push your game on them. But if you frustrate them and say keep them to 10, maybe 11 points, that'll go a long way of doing it, because they're scoring 90% of their scores. So they really need a 10-point M3 players, which is an obvious statement, but it's true.
And it's a lot to ask of Silverbridge. They're probably unlucky in a way that they've met. This is the 3rd year in a row they've met Crossmaglen, but I suppose the deeper you're on in the championship, you're likely to meet them along the line somewhere. Stephen, we always do the predictions on this show. I would be very surprised if anybody in the county would go against Crossmaglen this weekend. And it's no disrespect to Silverbridge. It's probably just the level that we've seen Crossmaglen play into this year. And the boys we were talking about, the 2 O'Neills and McConville, obviously the main architects of their success this year so far. How do you see this going? Do you see Silverbridge really having a go and making a game of it?
If you look back at the two years ago, Cross got over them pretty handily. Last year's game, Silverbridge started off really well, got the first 3-4 scores of the game, and only for maybe a 10-minute period in the second half when it switched off, and Cross got about 2-4, I think. It was a competitive game. So on year they're improving. They'll improve again this year, and they need to get 2-3 goals. If they don't get 2 or 3 goals, they definitely won't outscore Cross going forward. I can maybe see them sticking with them at about the 40-minute period again. And as in the previous 3 games Cross have had, they've just went away from teams in the last 20 minutes because they brought Cusack off the bench, they brought a lot of players with fresh legs, and their experience has just got them over the line. So not to be patronising to Silverbridge anyway, but it's the great achievement to get to the semi-final. They've took out 2 big teams. You can see they're getting stronger year on year, and they'll definitely be here for years to come. But I can see Cross winning this by maybe 5-6 points.
And that game, as I said, is Saturday night at 6:30, and it'll be live on Armagh TV for anybody that can't get to it. Sunday then is 3 o'clock on the Athletic Grounds. It's Clonard against Ballymacnabb, and Stefan, this is probably a team on the rise against a team maybe on its last legs. This is Clonard, as I keep saying, we've been waiting on this team. It's in the semi-final now. I think it was Clonard were last in the semi-final in 2016, and you beat them that year, while Ballymacnabb have been around the block and knocking on the door for a couple of years now, the 2 county finals in 2018 and 2019. Is that a fair way to judge this game? A team on the rise and a team maybe just starting to go downhill a wee bit?
If you look at that Ballymacnabb team, as you said, mentioned 2 finals in 18-19, also were in the final in 2011, I think. Most of them players are still about, so they've huge experience around that team. They know how to win semi-finals. They have the experience to get themselves over the line, and generally in around the quarter-final, semi-final most years, Ballymacnabb coming from 2011. That experience is massive when it comes to these games. But at the same time, Clonard have no real baggage. this is a whole new Clonard team from the team we beat in 2016, the semi-final. There's not many, there's maybe 4 or 5 players about. It's a whole new team, are used to winning at underage. So they'll have no baggage coming through. But we always say we're waiting on they're coming, but it's for time, maybe they're right. Put us out in the last round, deservedly so put us out. They done a number on us, but following that will be a different game. So they're a different style of play. They're more, the styles probably much isn't Clonard and Ballynav play a similar type of football. So they do. So it's going to be a very intriguing, close game. So it is.
And do you see this being an open game, or how do you see Clonard setting up? Because against the Grange, we've seen them really go man to man and playing attacking style. They scored 3-17 that day. And against you, they were more defensive. They got bodies back behind the ball. Obviously, they were underdogs that day, coming up against the county champions. The underdog always seems to maybe try to sit back and play in a counter-attacking style. How do you see Clonard lining up this weekend?
As you say, against Grange, went man to man, scored 3-17. Grange had a lot of goal opportunities that day. On another day, they could have got 2 or 3, and the game could have went a different way. Tommy's a very, he's a smart manager. He's probably looked at that there, and he's changed it up for playing us. But to be fair, now Clonard played, seen a few of their league games this year. They played the league games the same way they played against us. So on Sunday, I think the 2 teams are just going to marry each other. It's going to be maybe 13 men behind the ball, both teams. And they're going to just run the ball all night. There won't be much ball kicked in. The forwards will be living out of scraps. And if whoever takes their chances, there'll be a few scores kicked from 30, 40 yards out in the channels. Jack on one side, and then Rory on the other side, and then you have Gribben who can kick long scores. You've Hughes who can kick a score there too. Clonard do give, although they do play maybe 12, 15 men behind the ball, they do leave wee gaps in behind. But it's fighting them wee gaps. They're very quick to plug them, but they do leave them for a split second. If you can get your shots off quick, the following now will expose that. But the winning of the game, the losing of the game, I think Ballynav rely very heavily on their retention from the kickouts. The keeper is very, very good at getting the ball out in maybe 5-6 seconds and that ball's away to the corner back. If Clonard press that kick out and force them long into the middle, I can see Clonard maybe just overpowering them in the middle and then build their attacks. But if Clonard sit back and give that kick out up, Ballynav are a very, very good football team. They have a lot of good players, all comfortable on the ball, and generally don't take the wrong options. They work the ball to the playmakers, and then they feed Jack and Rory and Hughes inside. So it'll be interesting to see what way Clonard approach the game, you know.
Yeah, and that midfield battle. Obviously we talked about it in Cross and Silver Bridge. If both teams are going to go long with their kickouts, if Clonard's going to force Ballymacnabb, do Clonard have the advantage there? The big McConville, Tiernan Kelly, obviously Ryan Henderson, who we will speak about in a wee minute. He's hanging in around there too. They have a lot of big Connor Bale as well, McCambridge maybe if he's out there, Heffron. They have a lot of big men in that middle third.
I think if Clonard, if it does go long, I think it'll suit them. That's why Ballynav don't generally kick the ball out too long. They work the ball out. They've worked hard on it over the years to get the kick out away short. You can see they've done a lot of work on it. And in most of the games I've seen, 90% of the time go short. But if Clonard, it's easier said than done, can press that kick out and force it long. Clonard, as we found in our match in the quarterfinal, it was very physical in there. It was hard to get the ball. I think maybe one more breaking balls on us. As you said, Connor Bell from the combo. Conway's very good in the air. Connor Bell, the experience around there, and then the ball, the half backs and half forwards coming in. They're kind of a wee bit like Cross in the way that they commit bodies to the breaking ball and try and win that there. So it'll be an interesting battle to see if that evolves that there. they do kick the ball down long because Clonard will go long. So then their keeper has a good strike of the ball, he will generally go long most of the time, you know.
And I suppose the two benches is going to be huge as well. Stefan, we've seen Ballymcnab collapse against Greenmore and Pearse Oaks, and there were 6 up against Greenmore and 7 up against the Oaks, and just done enough to get squeezed through by a point on both occasions. While against Mahara, Clonard's bench made a huge difference. Rory McDonald come on and kicked a point. Jack Conlon come on and kicked a point. Do you see Clonard having the fresher legs maybe coming off the bench?
Yeah, but if you go back to the Ballymcnab and Graham game, it's kind of just touching on the point I made there about the kickouts. Graham gave the kick out up in the first half. In the second half, Graham pressed the kick out. It was 2 different games. Ballymcnab probably were lucky to probably get over the line in the end, but that just goes to show if you do press the kick out, it's a different Ballymcnab team. Clonard have about 50 players in their programme name. All young players playing, so they are just touching our game there again. And mine in the 45th minute, they were taking 2 or 3 buys off, and the exact same player was coming on, so the team wasn't weakened in any way. They were bringing the exact, it was like for like. So that having that on your bench is massive. Ballymcnab, they do have a strong 15. Maybe if they had a 3 or 4 buys on the bench, they probably have a couple of championships tonight. 2018-19 were very unlucky not to win those games, and only for their bench they probably would have. But I just wouldn't dismiss Ballymcnab's bench as not having an effect. But Clonard definitely do have a stronger bench around there. I think they probably have maybe one of the stronger benches in Armagh because of the sheer numbers in their squad, you know. So they do.
And I want to talk about Ryan Henderson's role as well, Stefan, because he's probably known best for his 4 goals against Wexford a good couple of years ago now. He was always an inside forward, obviously, for Armagh. Against Hughes, he played more of a quarterback role. I wouldn't say so much a sweeper, maybe, but he definitely pulled the strings from in around the middle.
Yeah, he's a good man to have, especially with an inexperienced team. He's a good man to have in there. He's been around Clonard a long time. He's one of those players played in 2016 semi-final, so he can draw on that experience. Knows probably the mistakes they made leading up into the game, and the younger players can draw on his experience from another game. Yeah, against us, it was kind of like a weird role. It was anytime I was kind of around the middle, I was free, but as soon as I crossed into the 50, he kind of tracked me that kind of way. So I can probably see him doing the same role for maybe Rory. If he does this up there, I'd probably be that player around the middle. Now he comes in, he'll probably help double up on Rory. He's a smart footballer, and Tommy Conway is probably getting the best out of him in his older years, and he's vital to Clonard if they can get over the line on Sunday. Because he's nice and composed on the ball. He'll talk the younger boys through the game, so he'll go where he'll make himself available for most passes. So he's definitely a good player to have about there, and probably been a credit to Clonard over the years, you know.
And you said he was pushing out on you whenever you went forward. Do you see Ballymcnab maybe man-marking him and not putting whoever the centre half back is? It was Kieran Connolly the last day. Do you see them switching that up and getting somebody just detailed to man-mark him?
It's tough because Ryan said he dressed back. He dressed back to probably around the centre half back role, and kind of, as you said, plays more as a quarterback. The way Ballymcnab play, they're happy enough for you to have the ball out around the halfway line, but once you come into 60-yard zone, they will push out and they will infect you. I can probably see them doing that there, but I don't think they'll maybe have a man pinpointed on him, because Ryan will play more or less in behind the ball for most of the game. He will join the attack now and again, but Ryan's role in there now is more or less to organise things around him. As you said, be that quarterback player and feed the younger players who have the leg to get up and down the pitch. So Ryan's probably using street wise football at the minute, just organise everything around him, you know.
And that brings us nicely probably to matchups. a few of, I think they're obvious ones that are going to happen. I feel Barry McCambridge will probably come out and mark Rory Grugan the same way he did with Aidan Falker against Hughes. That would leave Shea Heffron to go to full back the same way he went in on Lappin. He's going to go in on Jack Grugan. And from a Ballymacnabb point of view, we're going to see Ryan Kennedy on Conor Turbot. That's probably the big obvious matchups going into the game.
Candy will definitely pick up Turbo, but I think maybe Heffron and McKimbers might switch on the two Grugan brothers. I think if Jack plays in full forward, I think McKimbers will maybe stay in there with him, just because of the height and Ariel, maybe the strength too, and Shea may pick up Rory. But it's the same thing. Shea will maybe sit around the corner, the half-back line too, centre half-back line. And when Rory comes in the zone, he'll probably pick him up. But it's a kind of a muchness. They're kind of very alike players, Shea and Barry. So they kind of switch maybe between them and the attack won't sit and not go together kind of way. You know, the flatter and attack, they always leave 4 at the back, 5 at the back. You know what I mean? The house is never down. So Tommy isn't well organised that way, so he has. But Kennedy and Turbo is another great battle. But Kennedy likes to go forward too. He would work Turbo going forward, you know. So Turbo will need to be in his toes there too, and it'll be an interesting battle. But just touching on the two referees, the games, you can see this game. I think Conway is down the referee this game. Turbo taking free kicks for Clanner and Rory for Ballymacnabb might come out of the pitch with 6-7 points each for free kicks here. And then Falloon in the other game, both them teams know what they're getting. They're not getting much. But then they're not going into the game, which that's why Kevin is probably the best referee in the county. You know what you're getting from. But no, two different games with two different styles, and it'll be interesting to see who's better to have both of them.
And just to finish up then, Stephen, you'll have to be the casting vote for Clonard and Ballymacnabb. I'm obviously going to tip the knob for this one. How do you see this going? As I said, a team on the rise against the team maybe having one last go at it. Is this going to be maybe the coming of age win that we're waiting on for Clonard, or do you see Ballymacnabb just having one more go?
It's going to be tight either way, but I definitely think if Clonard press the Ballymacnabb kick out, I could really press it and really make him go long. I can see Clonard just nicking it, but I have a feeling because Ballymacnabb are pretty good at getting that kick out away early and they build their attacks slowly and they're very efficient in the way they go up the pitch. I can just see Ballymacnabb edging it by not by much, maybe 1 or 2 points, maybe even extra time. It will be a tight game either way, but I think Nab's experience of being in 3 or 4 semi-finals and getting over the line in the semi-finals will stand them, I think.
Hopefully we have 2 good games coming up, and as usual, we'll be covering them with obviously the podcasts, the previews, the match reports, and everything else. And Team of the Week obviously coming up next week as well. Make sure to continue to vote for your Player of the Week from the intermediate and junior semi-finals, and the winner of the Player of the Week will pick up a Player Fit Player of the Week jersey. And you can check out all Player Fit's designs, and it's not too late to pick up their Christmas shopping. And make sure to check out their Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter pages as well. Stefan, thanks very much for coming on and chatting us through the games this weekend.
No problem, Sean. Thanks for having me.
Ryan, you're very welcome to the Sideline Eye podcast. This weekend, your Clonard takes on Ballymacnabb, and on another day, you should have been preparing for a big game, but instead, as we're talking here, it's Wednesday evening, you're going for surgery in the morning. It's a very different week than you would have liked to have had. I suppose the night before getting your knee surgery, and we'll get into how you done it and how bad your injury has been, but how are you looking forward to just getting it out of the road, or are you nervous, or maybe a whole pile of emotions?
So to be honest, I'm just looking forward to getting it out of the road. I've sort of been waiting on this date for 8 weeks now. The surgeon gave me it, I've been in the gym and I've been doing a whole lot of rehab for this date, so I'm just looking to get it out of the road, to be honest.
And it's common. Knee injuries seem to be a common thing this year, but what was your injury? What was the full injury you had? And I suppose tell us how it happened.
Yeah, there's a whole pile of things wrong with Sean, to be honest. The two main ones was complete ruptures of the ACL and the patellar tendon. They're the two operations that need done. But there was tears to the meniscus and sprain of the MCL, tear to the PCL. There was a whole pile of things that went on. And it was a tackle. I was running with the ball, I wanted to kick, and your boy just got me off balance. Instead of keying over, I tried to put my foot down and protect myself, and ended up being more soft for it. Like I should have just keyed over.
And I know that that was against Silverbridge, and that game was a bond after that. Do you have any like real memories of it happening? Like, what was the standout memories? Was there much pain with it, or I would imagine instantly as soon as it happened, you knew it wasn't good?
Yeah, I mean, as soon as it happened, like you said, I was just thinking this isn't good. Complete normally with an injury, it takes maybe 10 or 15 seconds for the pain to kick in with the adrenaline, but straight away I knew just something wasn't right. I went down, I was feeling my knee and stuff like, and the kneecap wasn't really where it should have been. I was thinking this isn't good here. Like.
And probably the most heartbreaking thing about it is we'll talk about you missing the rest of the year, obviously, but you played Cullyhan on the 20th of September in 2020. Then club football was suspended for the rest of the year. You've come back first round of the league. 2021 was the 6th of June, and you've played Silverbridge on that day. Almost a year without football, without competitive action, obviously. You pick up this injury and you're maybe looking at another year with no competitive action. It's bound to be heartbreaking for you, Ryan.
Yeah, it is. It's a tough one to take, Sean. Especially leading up to it, I felt like it was moving well. Felt that it was in good shape. Sort of came out of nowhere, like, my body felt great. I was in a good headspace, and this happens, and it's a sucker blow, but it's just one of those things that you have to take and have to keep moving forward with. Like.
And you said about your headspace. How's your head been dealing with all this?
Really good, really good. I'm lucky enough that I have a brilliant friend group around me. All the boys are involved with Clonard, like. The majority of my friend group actually are playing and starting, like, so. Seeing them boys playing well, and it's a different sort of a role this year, encouraging them on, but it's a role that I've definitely took on straight. No, I've been in a real good headspace, and it's definitely said encouraging them boys on. It's down to, like, yeah.
And that group, as you talk about, that's sort of the group that we've been waiting on. This Clonard team coming, the likes of you, Turbo, Brian McCambridge, then Sean McCarthy as well. They've all now got sealed promotion from Division 2B. They're from Division 1B, sorry. They're in a championship semi-final. Is it tough watching all that unfold, and you can't really be the part of it that you wanted to be?
Yeah, definitely is. I think you'd be lying if you were to say that it's not. It doesn't hurt watching on with the boys doing well. That's simply selfish, from my point of view. But you want them to do well too. You want them to kick on, and you want them to do as best as they can. But no, it is. It's tough not being out there and leading from a different way.
And how's the rehab been? Because I know surgeons and physios like you to do a lot of rehab before going for your surgery to make sure the muscles intact and that. Have you been doing much rehab over the last couple of months?
Yeah, as soon as it happened, I got in contact with Acl, who's in with Armagh, and I've been working very closely with him. He's been brilliant with me, and he's like, I can't speak highly of him enough. And then he released me about 7 weeks ago. The S&C coach took on Rory Grimes, who's with us in Clonard, and I've been working one-to-one with him. He's been brilliant too. Like, so I can't speak highly enough of the two boys. Like, yeah.
And what's the recovery time? I know with a regular ACL, it's usually between 9 months and a year. But as you say, you've done more than your ACL. You've done a lot of damage to your knee. Are you still looking at 9 months from tomorrow, or what's your time frame?
The time frame from then, so it's 16 weeks since the injury, and I had to have 16 weeks post the first stop. to clear me for the second operation. But no, the target's still after this operation. The target's still 9 months, and if I can work as hard as I can, shave even more time off it, like that's going to be the goal, like doing it safely, like.
And this is your ACL operation, is it? What was the first one? Was that for your MCL?
It was for the patella tendon. It was a complete rupture, so it needed basically stitched back together.
And how was the recovery after that? That's obviously not a long process. That's a couple of weeks, is it?
It was longer than expected. Actually, it was probably 7 weeks. Well, 8 weeks before I was walking out of brace. It was actually more complex than I thought. Because the patella tendon, I couldn't even lift my leg by myself. I had to lift it with my hand and stuff for the first couple of weeks. So it was actually quite a slow process to start off with. It was all about getting the leg moving again properly and just doing leg pulses at the start.
And I know you had a bit of company when you were out injured. Ryan Meehan also, did he do his cruciate as well? I remember seeing a picture of you and were both on crutches at one stage.
He tore his hamstring, so he did. He had a grade 3 hamstring tear, so it needed surgery. That's another reason why the first 8 weeks, 12 weeks was made a whole lot easier, because we were going to the gym together and we were doing a lot of the same things. So it's a whole lot easier when you're doing it with someone, you're not in the gym by yourself.
And obviously Clonard are taking on Ballymacnabb in the championship semi-final this weekend on Sunday. And while I'm not asking you to preview the game or to look too much into it or give away any details, this is a game you would have been part of. It's a game that you have played Ballymacnabb in recent years. In 2016, you beat them twice. You were part of it. 2019, Ballymacnabb beat you as well, but I remember you boys were only back from America or something, if I remember that correctly. That yourself and McCambridge and you. So there's not really any real recent history between the two clubs, but Ryan, as we spoke about, you're not going to be involved. Will you still get to the game even though it's a couple of days after your surgery?
I doubt it, Sean, to be honest. I expect to be cooped up for at least another week or so after, but I'll definitely be cheering the boys on TV.
And that win against Mahari, I think I described it as a coming of age win. Was it difficult being there, and it's such a massive victory for your club, and while you're still obviously involved and doing your bit, you weren't actually on the field?
Yeah, especially because, yourself, how last year went. We took them the extra time and ended up getting beat by a point. So it's sort of like what we didn't get done last year, we got done this year. We got over the line, and that's all we done this year. It was only a win. It was only a quarter-final win, but it still felt like, we put that there to bed, that maybe what we could have done last year is what we done this year.
And finally, Ryan, I know it's 9 months away, but are you, with the split season and that, are you targeting hopefully getting back and playing some championship football next year?
Yeah, I think actually the split season suits me a bit better, and that is purely from a selfish point of view. It means I'll probably get more football than if it was just a regular season. League starting in maybe April, you'd miss all the league and you'd be getting tight for championship. But all going well next year, I'll maybe get the majority of the season. Things go well.
Ryan, best luck with it, and thanks very much for coming on.
No worries, Sean. Thanks for having me.